Hesitation is commonly framed as politeness. It is described as social awareness under pressure. A pause before speaking is treated as restraint. Mid-sentence adjustments are interpreted as care. Waiting for cues is labeled cooperation. In professional settings, this behavior is praised as diplomacy. Words are softened. Statements are revised in real time. Tone is calibrated to the room. The speaker appears flexible rather than fixed. In group discussions, hesitation is framed as openness. The individual does not dominate. They read reactions. They yield space. This is often equated with emotional intelligence. In hierarchical environments, the same pattern is seen as respect. Responses are delayed until authority signals safety. Language mirrors what has already been approved. Disagreement is postponed or dissolved. Silence is treated as maturity. Socially, the behavior is explained as agreeableness. The person is described as easy to work with. Conflict appears minimized. Friction seems avoided. Harmony is assumed to be maintained. Internally, the explanation remains benign. The pause is said to prevent mistakes. The adjustment is framed as precision. The delay is credited to thoughtfulness. The self-image remains intact. This explanation persists because it fits visible outcomes. Conversations continue smoothly. Tension rarely spikes. No open confrontation occurs. The behavior blends into acceptable norms. At this level, hesitation appears functional. It appears adaptive. It appears socially rewarded. The surface explanation holds only in low pressure. It weakens when stakes rise. It degrades under repetition. Politeness functions when time is available. Hesitation persists when time is constrained. The behavior does not compress, it elongates. Agreeableness assumes mutual goodwill. The pattern remains when goodwill is absent. Adjustments continue even after signals stabilize. The behavior does not resolve once clarity appears. Diplomacy implies control over tone. Here, tone shifts without decision. Statements change mid-formation. Language tracks reactions rather than intent. If restraint were the cause, restraint would end. It does not. The pause repeats across neutral settings. The delay survives familiarity. It appears even when outcomes are predictable. The explanation also fails across frequency. Single instances can be contextual. Repeated instances become structural. The same delay emerges regardless of topic. The same calibration occurs regardless of audience. Social reward is assumed, yet the behavior persists when reward is unclear. It remains when approval is delayed. It continues when silence produces cost. Internal consistency should increase with experience. It does not. The speaker does not settle. They monitor. They recalibrate. This pattern resists improvement through exposure. Time does not refine it. Competence does not erase it. Familiarity does not dissolve it. The surface explanation cannot account for this persistence. It cannot explain the lack of decay. It cannot explain the absence of consolidation. What appears adaptive does not stabilize. What is framed as politeness does not conclude. Under pressure, the explanation thins. The behavior remains. The explanation does not. The process does not begin at speech. It begins before formulation. An internal scan occurs first. Attention shifts outward. Signals are sampled. Faces, tone, posture, timing. This scan delays commitment. Language is held provisional. Meaning is not yet assigned. The statement remains adjustable. Formulation starts under observation. Words are selected with escape routes. Phrases remain open-ended. Assertions are softened by structure. As speech begins, monitoring continues. Micro-reactions are checked in real time. Approval is measured before completion. The sentence is still unfinished. Adjustment follows immediately. Qualifiers are added. Direction shifts midstream. The original structure dissolves. This creates internal divergence. One track continues forming intent. Another tracks external response. Neither completes cleanly. The pause that follows is not rest. It is recalibration. The system waits for confirmation. Silence is used as input. If confirmation arrives, speech resumes. If it does not, restraint increases. Delay extends. Language compresses further. Each cycle reinforces vigilance. Monitoring becomes default. Initiation weakens. Response replaces assertion. Over time, this process shortens. The scan activates faster, adjustment triggers earlier, completion becomes rarer. The mechanism does not require threat. Neutral settings activate it. Familiar settings do not disable it. The system runs automatically. No single decision controls this. It is distributed. Attention, formulation, monitoring, adjustment. Each stage feeds the next. The cost accumulates internally. Intent remains unexpressed. Speech fragments. Resolution is deferred. Externally, signals are privileged. Direction is shaped by response. Initiative thins. Dependence forms. The mechanism sustains itself. It does not correct through repetition. It does not stabilize through exposure. It continues because it functions as designed. Nothing breaks. Nothing concludes. Each repetition tightens the sequence. The scan triggers earlier. The pause lengthens faster. Small delays avoid immediate friction. That absence is registered. The system marks it as functional. Adjustment reduces visible conflict. No correction arrives. The absence of pushback is stored. Waiting invites response from others. Direction appears externally. The system accepts it without resistance. This outcome reinforces monitoring. Initiation feels less necessary. Reaction becomes sufficient. Across settings, the same pattern holds. Different groups, same sequence. The context changes. The mechanism does not. Neutral interactions still reward delay. Nothing breaks when speech is withheld. Silence is tolerated, sometimes preferred. Each instance lowers internal urgency. Completion feels optional. Expression becomes conditional. Over time, the threshold shifts. What once required caution now feels default. The scan activates without prompt. Adjustment precedes articulation. The loop does not depend on success. Even weak approval sustains it. Even ambiguous signals count. Repetition narrows available responses. Direct expression becomes rare. Calibrated speech dominates. Others adapt to the pattern. They fill gaps. They set direction. They learn the delay. This external response feeds back. Waiting produces guidance. Guidance reduces initiative. The system registers efficiency. Effort appears minimized. Responsibility disperses. The loop persists through familiarity. It persists through competence. It persists through time. Nothing interrupts it. No stage signals failure. No endpoint appears. The behavior stabilizes as process, not as decision, not as choice. Each cycle makes the next shorter, earlier, quieter. The mechanism remains unresolved. It continues because it repeats. The pattern does not announce an end. It continues without signal. Hesitation remains present even when nothing is at risk. It persists when attention is low. It appears when authority is absent. The system does not wait for instruction. It activates on its own. Speech remains provisional. Completion stays deferred. Internal pressure accumulates without release. Thought separates from expression. Alignment never fully forms. Externally, direction keeps arriving. It fills the space left open. The gap invites control. Nothing intervenes. No stage collapses. No cost triggers correction. The mechanism does not require reinforcement. It generates its own confirmation. Silence passes as acceptable. Adjustment passes as cooperation. Time does not weaken it. Familiarity does not interrupt it. Repetition sharpens it. The system does not fail loudly. It fails quietly. It fails by continuation. Speech narrows further. Response replaces initiation. Monitoring replaces commitment. No resolution emerges from within the sequence. No external force closes it. The pattern remains intact. It remains active. It remains unresolved. What continues does not need justification. It only needs to keep functioning, and it does.